Thank you for joining us for the virtual exhibition of the Year of La Chicana. Celebrating the Year of La Chicana is a partnership between History Colorado and the El Movimiento Community Advisory Committee. Year of La Chicana celebrates and honors La Chicana, past, present, and future, and shares her story with a wide range of audiences. The 10 women shown in our exhibit are examples of what La Chicana represents and what they and others have done for the Chicano community to better the lives of Chicanos in education, employment, health, equity, quality of life, and more. I have with me Charlene Garcia Sims. She's the Genealogy and Special Collections Librarian at the Rawlings Library, and she's going to give more detail on this beautiful exhibit. There you go, Charlene.
Thank you, Megan, for all your hard work in getting this presentation recorded and with all your help in setting the exhibit up and nurturing it. As Megan said, today we are presenting the exhibit that is on our third floor here at Rawlings Library called Celebrating the Year of La Chicana. In February, Megan and I planned this exhibit and went to Denver to pick up 7 pieces of art that are included in this exhibit by artists in residence at History Colorado, Arlette Lucero. 3 are on loan from History Colorado, and we want to thank Arlette and History Colorado for letting us have these paintings for much longer than we anticipated. On March 1st, Megan and I set up this beautiful exhibit, and unfortunately, because of COVID, it was only open to the public until March 13th. This is very unfortunate, and Megan and I thought it deserved to be archived because of its importance. So after this live program, it will be for years to come. So who is La Chicana? I'm going to quote Dr. Deborah Martinez. Humility is a core value of Chicanas. Many Chicanas don't say, I did this. They say, we did this as a group, as a family, as a community. Their stories are potent, their stories motivate and guide. Of course, there are many women who never used the term Chicana, but who knew they were the first Mexican, Spanish, India, Mestiza Chicanas to achieve distinction or provide leadership or model activism against sexism or racism. They were women who fought for their place in the American system and thereby led the pathway for all Chicanas and future generations of our daughters to have a better, more equal quality of life. The biographies of these women are on our website in our Special Collections Department area. The 10 women who are included in this exhibit are Dolores Huerta, Si se puede, yes we can, signifies the movement for economic justice and farm worker dignity that Dolores Huerta began in the 1960s before many who chant her words today were even alive. She launched this slogan in 1972 amid farm workers' protests in Arizona as a demonstration of her belief in the individual and collective power of workers. At a time when less than 40% of women were in the workforce, Huerta insisted that they have an equal voice at work and in unions. To Huerta, women are never powerless victims, only leaders and authors of their own stories. There is also a wonderful documentary about Dolores. So Dolores Huerta, humanitarian, union organizer, co-founder and veteran of the United Farm Workers. Shirley Romero Otero co-founded the Land Rights Council in 1977 in Chama, Colorado, to regain the rights for the heirs of the Sangre de Cristo land grant. The group filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of 100 heirs to restore their historic use rights. After 22 years, dozens of court hearings before 27 judges, on June 24, 2002, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that the people of San Luis did have access and use rights. This historical victory of Rial versus Taylor set legal precedent for other land grant cases. Now nearly 1,000 landowners have access to the historic La Sierra to hunt, fish, get wood, and recreate. Shirley Romero Otero, humanitarian, land rights activist, and educator. Deborah Espinosa worked 25 years for History Colorado as the director of El Pueblo History Museum, managing its growth to the contemporary complex it is today. She taught the true history and engagement of New Mexican people and workers at El Pueblo Trading Post, founded in 1842, and worked with a large contingent of volunteers and historic reenactors. She co-curated El Movimiento, the Chicana movement in Colorado, a core exhibit of History Colorado in Denver. She's involved in the Sanga Pueblo Oratorio, music by Daniel Valdez, narration by Deborah, and videograph by her husband Juan. Deborah Espinosa, historian, educator, and activist. Angela Giron served in administrative leadership roles at Boys and Girls Clubs in Pueblo County from 1980 through 2007. She worked for 2 senators and was then elected to the Colorado State Senate. In 2010, her service was deemed controversial as she championed much legislation, including in-state tuition for undocumented students as part of the Dreamers Act. But it was in the Senate gun safety bills in 2013 that made her a lightning rod for the NRA, and she was recalled in a special election. She remains extremely proud of her service in the Colorado State Senate. The Dreamer legislation is now stronger, and the same gun safety laws that got her recalled are now being touted nationally as a step forward to address gun violence. Angela Giron, legislator, educator, advocate. Carla Barela has been president and chief executive officer of Cortez Construction Company since 1991. As the first woman in Pueblo to hold a Class A contractor's license, she secured a contract to rebuild old, low-income housing of Pueblo's most vulnerable citizens through the Housing Authority of the City of Pueblo. In her role as president and CEO of a male-dominated business, she inspires other women to not only work hard, but work smart. Carla Barela, business owner, business leader, advocate. Denise Torrez is a first-generation college student who has 2 master's degrees. She's a teacher for School District 60. It was important for her to help the students that were most in need of her mentorship role as a Chicana professional. So she has always taught at barrio schools to include the last 21 years, mostly at Eva R. Baca Elementary in Dogpatch. Denise continues to advocate for educational equity. She is the founding member of the Pueblo Education Coalition, which strives to give students, parents, community members, and educators a voice in educational issues in Pueblo. Denise Torrez. Carmen Arteaga has chosen to identify as Chicana throughout her life. In 1970, Carmen established a tutorial program called Creer out of La Casa Verde, which evolved into a community school for Chicano students, of which she became principal. Her originally met with students when she was teaching there, painted the mural on Joplin Hill called Los Vaqueros, and as part of the Eastside Commission, Carmen helped establish a mural project at Plaza Verde Park. She also originated the idea for a Latina Book Festival at the library. Currently, she is president of the Fray Angelico Chavez chapter of GSHA and a member of the Pueblo Women's March and the Cinco de Mayo Committee. Carmen Arteaga, educator. Over the past 40 years, Rita Martinez has been a cornerstone in movement building and community organizing in Pueblo and throughout Colorado. Rita has a reputation for bringing people together for direct action, fighting for justice. She became politicized in the 1970s during the Chicana movement while organizing around local police brutality issues. She was the impetus behind the formation of the Colorado Chicana Movement Archives at CSU Pueblo, and Rita spearheaded the 50th anniversary celebration for Cinco de Mayo this year. She is adamant that the Chicana movement continues. Rita Martinez, community leader, educator, and activist. Judy Baca is an associate professor of social work and program coordinator for the Chicana Studies program at CSU Pueblo. Her research interest focuses on indigenous and barrio communities that include healthcare and educational disparities among historically oppressed communities, including folk healing, folklore, and an emphasis on curanderismo. She is on many advisory boards, including the Chicano Movement Exhibit, El Movimiento, and the Pueblo Salt Creek Memory Project for El Pueblo History Museum. She is a committee member of CSU Pueblo's Chicano Movement Archives and the Cinco de Mayo Committee. Deborah Martinez. In 1985, Deborah started working at Colorado State University, Pueblo, and for 20 years guided traditional and non-traditional students to an educated future. The focus of her most recent research was on the leadership of Colorado Chicanos through the University of Colorado at Denver, where she received her PhD. After retirement, she used her editorial skills and began publishing books with her partner, Robert Pacheco, under the imprint Vanishing Horizons. They have published 7 books, including Trade on the Taos Mountain Trail, authored by Deborah and illustrated by Robert. Deborah's also a poet, and a few years ago, I think about 2001, she started a group called Las Compañeras. And this is her poem, A Mestiza Woman. I will try to do it justice. I am the mestiza woman of the American Southwest. I am a citizen of the world. I go forward, always looking back for justice, for equity, for my people's place in history, for my place in history. I am the daughter of landowners and farm workers. This land rose up with the labor of brown hands, Indian, Black, Mestizo, Mexicano. Our matriarchal society, our zest for life, may mean the revitalization of this country, our country. Our young men's lives defended it. Our women's council strengthened it. Thank you, Deborah, for writing this poem. I just love it. And one of these days, we're going to just have you come here and read it yourself. We are going to be in for a treat by showcasing Arlette Lucero's paintings in just a moment. Arlette Lucero's painting number 1 is Tree of Life, and it is $1,200. The Tree of Life represents family, ancestors, memory, and an indigenous connection to the Americas with much respect for the earth and what it gives us, and we need to protect it. You can see the quetzal bird on the left side. Day of the Dead is also $1,200. Dia de los Muertos is celebrated on November 1st and 2nd. It was a Mexican holiday until the 90s when it started to become popular here in the United States. It calls the spirits of our dearly departed, and they join us for a feast of their favorite foods and objects and symbols representing them. Pungent marigolds call them out. They smell them and they come out. It is a very special celebration. This is Coloxopu, and I know I don't pronounce it very well, but it is what is believed to be the name of what the indigenous people of Mexico first called La Virgen de Guadalupe when she appeared to Juan Diego in 1531 in Mexico. And it makes sense because it is an indigenous Nahuatl word. It also shows her crushing the head of Quetzalcoatl to release his spirit. He was a god of learning and knowledge, and he also is known as a feathered serpent. Corn Mother, Metro State University has honored almost 50 women in the Southwest by designating them as Corn Mothers, givers of life, representing Mother Earth. They all share an ability to pull from the past that is sacred and holy and to create a future that is filled with promise. And this is actually a self-portrait of Arlette. The following paintings are on loan from History Colorado. Guadalupe Briceño was an organizer of the Quitamaya Floral Corporation strike in Brighton in 1969. Lupe, along with many women, demonstrated the strength and power of Latino leadership in Colorado's labor movement. Women workers chained themselves to the gates, and they were just fighting for fundamental human rights, such as equal pay for equal work, immigration rights, anti-human trafficking, and the Me Too movement. Her strength earned her a spot in the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame in 2020. The Chicano anthem, Yo Soy Chicana, was written by Juanita Dominguez from San Luis, Colorado. She composed this song on her way to the 1968 Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. The lyrics are Juanita's, but the tune is from a revolutionary corrido, La Relera. And you can find it on the Smithsonian Folkways website, and this one is not for sale. The colors are just beautiful. I just want to look at this all day long. Teresita Sandoval was part of the founding of El Pueblo Trading Post. Her story reads like an epic novel. We will have a presentation on her in August or September. She was last year's Legacy Award winner of the Colorado Latino Hall of Fame. One of the ignored women in Pueblo's history, there is power in the story of one. In symbolism, heroism is a life that in actuality represents the narrative of many. And again, the colors are just beautiful, showing the mountains where we live and the prairie and what the trading post looked like with the Americanos trading with the indigenous people. We see a chileristra and we see the Ornos and children playing. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful painting by Arlette. And this is what the exhibit looked like. We had some of the paintings in beautiful, beautiful cases. And here are Arlette's paintings. We also hung them up very beautifully. You can see all 4 of them. And these are the ladies, our 10 wonderful, beautiful ladies inside and out. And we enlarged the pictures. And this is another part of the exhibit. The Mothers of La Casa Verde was created in 1968 by women living on the Lower East Side of Pueblo who felt that their children had no recreational facilities and only the streets to play in. These women organized positive activities for the Chicana youth in the neighborhood and referred to the new home as Casa, located at 519 Joplin. The founding mothers were Mary Herrera, her daughter Donna, Lola Lobato, Prudencia Medina, Eva Montoya, Peggy Rodriguez, Beatrice Roybal, Josephine Valdez, and Helen Pacheco Young. You can see Beatriz Roybal on the first picture to your left and in the third picture, and she is Carmen Arteaga's mother. Olivama Lopez Tushar, even though she did not call herself a Chicana, she embodied the spirit of La Chicana. She was one of the first Hispanics to graduate from CU Pueblo in 1930 with a degree in languages. Yet she could never get hired in the Denver public schools, and they finally blatantly told her it was because she was an Hispanic. This did not deter her. She still taught at Bellevue and for a short time in Walsenburg. Her story is long, but most important, she published the award-winning book quoted by many scholars, The People of El Valle, about the San Luis Valley. She had to self-publish the first edition because they told her it was too regional. The second, third, and fourth editions published by Educator got bigger and bigger because she kept researching. Last year in 2019, she was nominated and won the second Legacy Award from the Colorado Latino Hall of Fame. She passed away in 2004. Las Comadres is a women's organization whose members believe in the preservation of Pueblo's Chicana history and acknowledgement of those persons who helped make the community a better place to live. The members consist of women from all walks of life, including educators, business owners, publishers, government officials, activists, caretakers, wives, mothers, grandmothers, and much more. They support each other as only comadres can and do. And Carmen Arteaga is the head of this organization. And this is Arlette's painting, La Chicana. It is available for sale for $50 frame. And it's only beautiful, but you can see so much symbolism of the Chicana movement here. The colors of Mexico, the butterflies. Here is art by Arlette Lucero and her website. The easiest way to get to her website is just to type in art by Arlette Lucero. And for exhibition questions, you can contact us here at the library. And Megan, do you have anything else to add?
I do, Charlene. I wanted to thank you for all of your research and for this lovely exhibit. I wouldn't have been part of it without you. We also wanted to thank History Colorado and the Library District and Arlette Lucero for making this exhibit so rich and wonderful. It's been a really great thing to be part of. So thank you.
Okay, and it's really sad that it was only up for 13 days, but the good news is that we are going to have it up until July 31st. The rules right now is that you can come in and browse for 30 minutes. So if you get a browsing pass, please come up to the third floor and look at this wonderful, wonderful exhibit. So this concludes our presentation. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening, and please continue listening to our virtual programs.